So among these domains where I identified loans from Turkish into Bulgarian, they concern food and drink and clothing and the house, so they're not in the highest flowing domains. They're into everyday domains that have mid-borrowing scores. And borrowing looks like, some words are just borrowed wholesale. There are no synonyms. I don't think I need to write translations because you might be in the Kaisi. Okay, this is Kaisi. But the rest of it, this is our only word for any of these items. And that list can be continued to infinity. It's very long. And all of these things have to do with food or drink or everyday life. Then there are borrowings that have synonyms. So, and the synonyms will be stylistically marked, or they are marked as old-fashioned, but they still exist. And they're still from the same domains. So, the word for street and pencil and wall and you'll get. I like the marron a lot because I didn't like it when I see. Bullock restaurant here. I'm like, I'm not going to a restaurant for morons, but and this is how it looks like to me, But anyways, you do get borrowings that have a Slavic correspondent, but the Turkish correspondent is there as well, and this is what happens in borrowing. Then there are very many that are not stylistically marked. I will make a case of the butilka and shisha in a bit. So it's. This may be a bit childish, but it's completely valid word, so you say it all the time. So this is one of the things that does happen in borrowing. You get a lot of synonyms, and again, you have generalizations that the Loanwords project came with. That you tend to borrow things more from the modern world and technology, but in a continuous contact you will borrow from domains that are a lot lower on the borrowability scale from that project. So I'll go over to linguistic areas. What defines, you have areas where contact has been more intense than in other areas. So what defines an area? Well, it has to be geographically continuous territory. And the languages that are being spoken on that territory need to share features. Well, languages can share features because they are genealogically related. But whoever is defining the area needs to prove that these features have not been inherited, they're not retained from a common ancestor, and that these features also stand out as something special, and if you compare with languages around the area. Okay? So I'll come to the Balkans and the standard average Europeans, but before that I thought, well, I'll play around with, I'll come back to this when I talk about my little experiment. If you go to that Loanword database, you see that they have two languages in the Caucasus, Archi and Beshta. Both are from, I think, the Lesgit group. And for Babel, they have something that's called Shusha. And the donor language is said to be Persian. And the Persian word is Shisha. And this went into the languages of the Caucasus. So if we want to see, is this like a feature that is in the languages around you, we start checking, and we see that in Azerbaijani it's Shushe, and in Armenian it's Shish, and in Kurdish it's Shushe, and then in Turkish Shishe, And then Bulgaria has Butilka and Shishe, and Macedonia has only Shishe, and then Albania has Shishe. So it's a nice line from Persia into the East Caucasus and then Anatolia and some mid-Balkans. Okay, is this enough to say, well, we have an area?
That's just one word.
Yeah. So one word, that's one point. One word is one feature. That's one of the things I want you to learn. It's a term I want you to learn. It'll come. But that's an isogloss that runs. That's a term. That's the second term. The first notion was the Suarez list. The second notion for today is isogloss. This is an isogloss. Very nice isogloss. Persia, two Caucasus, and then the Balkans, going through Anatolia. One isogloss is typically one isogloss. It's curiosa. People don't take this to be valid for the area. It does not, one single feature does not define an area. Also, this is not even a structural feature, it's vocabulary. So vocabulary is provenly, demonstrably more easily borrowed than grammar. So again, this does not define intensity of contact, and this is not a good ground for an area. Then we need to see what's, so is this the end of this? Are there any other languages? So in Georgian they say something like Botli, and in Romanian there is Tiplo, which I recognize, and then they have Butelka. And in Serbian they say Boca and Flasha. In Greek it's Vokali. So the isogloss stands, and it's something that you need to do if you're serious about checking is a certain territory, a linguistic area. Okay, you've identified what languages are similar, but in order to say if they're similar or not, you need to check the immediate languages around them. And then, well, maybe there is something going on here, but one feature is not enough. So those are two sticky issues when we define an area. How many features do we need? Does borrowed vocabulary count? How many languages do we need? How unrelated do they need to be? What kind of features do we count in? Vocabulary is said to be weak, but do we count innovations in grammar? Are common innovations the strongest indication? Or do we count the spread of a particular grammatical feature? And it could be long, like something from Turkish goes into Bulgarian, like the evidential. Does this count, or do other things need to come into play? None of these questions has a definite answer, except that one feature is way too few, so one feature doesn't count. And if you're going to count vocabulary, you need to show that there is something else going on. So vocabulary is on its own, it's too weak. I thought I'd spend the rest of the... Do you need a break? Okay, go on. No break? Okay.
Do you need a break?
No.
Oh.
Okay. Then I thought I will spend the rest of the time talking about the Balkans and the standard average European. I thought you can't have gone this class without having heard about the Balkans Sprachbund, and it's too close, you're part of it, and the standard average European is also something that is one of the good, solid linguistic areas that we have discovered. But yeah, isogloss I want you to learn. There are the nice lines. Okay. So if we go to the Balkans, it's an area that's been invaded many times by many different people. Nowadays it's dominated by Indo-European languages, but these Indo-European languages come from the IE here is for Indo-European on the handout. These Indo-European languages come from very different families in the Indo-European phylum. So besides the population as the modern times, okay, modern times starting from 0 or whatever, let's say the first several hundred years BC, somewhere there. So at that time we have Greeks and Albanians. The Slavic peoples came around 300, 400, somewhere around there. The Romance speakers came much later, and maybe the Hungarian people were there much earlier, or they were there before the Slavs. And then came the Turkish people. All of these comings have not been peaceful. But what people traveling around the Balkans in the 1700s noticed is that people somehow speak similarly. So this was one of the first, the term Sprachbund is attributed to Trubetskoy, who is a Russian linguist. Sprachbund means the confederacy, the federacy of languages. It was noted at a very early stage that these very different Indo-European languages have features that make them very much alike. And unlike other linguistic areas, the Balkans also, who in our linguistic areas we talk about structural features, grammar and vocabulary. On the Balkans we also have shared phonological features, which is very significant, and it somehow, I don't, when you speak a foreign language, you have a specific accent, they can't always say whether I'm Greek or Serbian or Bulgarian, because they, like all of them come from the Balkans, and we do sound alike.